best, wanting to be like the top player for Marvel. But obviously, it's always going to be a different game. I feel like Capcom, anytime they make another version of like a game, it's always different. It's never the same. So I definitely didn't see that if Legacy was like legacy knowledge or skill was going to carry over or not. It's definitely something that a lot of players was excited for to play. And when it comes to like a Marvel game, I don't know, it just seems like it clicks a bit more. Maybe I'm just like such a huge nerd or fan of playing Marvel. But even before Marvel 3 came out, I wanted to be the best at Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, because that was the next versus game that was at EVO in 2010. I got third that year, so I wasn't able to win Tatsunoko vs. Capcom there. So I was like, oh, maybe TVC will make it to 2011 and I'll try to win that. But then they were like, Marvel 3 is at 2011. I'm like, all right, let's go for win Marvel 3 with 2011, right? And yeah, unfortunately I got third again that year too. So, but ultimately in the end, it was just super fun because more people were playing it. Even like players from Japan were playing Marvel 3. It obviously had a different play style, a different mix, different twist compared to Marvel 2, but it still had like the smack talking, the money matches. It really always brings the best out of people, or the most competitive drive from people when a Marvel game is present. I was pretty disappointed like just getting third, because in Marvel 3, I kind of like didn't care about the meta. So every time people are playing vanilla Marvel 3, it's like Phoenix is everywhere, right? Phoenix everywhere. And I'm like, well, I just want to play, you know, Wolverine, Storm, Akuma. I just kind of like, Wolverine's cool. I always played Wolverine in the older Marvel games. And then Storm, obviously my girl. I like to use like good assists, right? Because Marvel 3 kind of like strayed away from like the Marvel 2 assist style to more of like 3 character teams is the wave. So I was like, no, I want to keep my identity. So I picked Akuma. Tatsu kind of reminds me of kind of like a horizontal version of like Cyclops Gene Splice, the assist I used in Marvel 2. So that's kind of like why I stuck with that team and picked with that team. And then losing to Friscant at EVO pissed me off. Also, it was like 2 out of 3, right? So I was like, oh my God, 2 out of 3 is so brutal for vanilla Marvel 3 because of how actually cheap the game is. And Ultimate Marvel 3 was more of like a good balance change. And getting 7th was pretty depressing as well, because I won CEO. Like, so going to EVO, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling good. And from there, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of these random teams that I'm trying to pick. I'm gonna go back to my Wolverine, Storm, Akuma type of style, or something similar to that. So that's kind of where I identified like, this is my play style, and this is where I'm gonna stay for the rest of the game. I actually didn't.
Pella Windows, tested for extremes, designed for your home.
If you could go anywhere in the whole world, where would you go? To the stars.
With Paramount Plus, come stream The View from the top.
I actually did not practice Marvel 3 like that whole entire year. And the crazy part is when I fought Chris G, I lost him the whole entire year straight. Didn't beat him one time, and I'm like getting destroyed, literally getting destroyed the whole entire year and even the match. Like it was like the first 2 games, like literally 2 and 90% of the third game, it was completely free, completely lopsided. And then I made this like random miraculous X Factor 3 comeback with like a pixel storm, and it kind of like changed everything because the crowd went nuts. Right, Chris G probably was like, I can't believe I lost that third game because he should have won, right? If you think about it with the life deficit, like I had no reason to make that comeback. From there, the classic happened. The classic is once you make a ridiculous comeback, the next game is always free, no matter what. And that's what happened. The 4th game was completely free. And then the 5th game, it was a time over. Down to the wire, I kill a character, he kills a character, and it was a time over win. And I mean, it's a classic. I like to win time overs all the time. And from there, I think the crowd just completely lost it, erupted. First time hearing the crowd chant my name as well, because I was always kind of the villain, because I guess I won too much or whatever, right? So having the crowd just chant my name, it really gave me so much energy to be like this main anime character protagonist to try to win 2013. I was actually very pissed off losing the Flogger that year. Not because I lost the Flogger, but because my road to getting to that point was so hard because I had to beat Filipino champ. I switched from Wolverine Storm Akuma to pick Wolverine Spencer Frank West, and then I smoked him the next 2 games. Now I'm in top 8. Then I had to fight Chris G, beat Chris G, right? And then go through Cloud 805 and go through Angelic. So I'm like, all right, I'm cooking. And then I had to play Flocker. Flocker only beat me. He had the best roads. I was already pissed off. I was like, I gotta go through all these crazy matches. He was so scared of Akuma that every time like Akuma came in as anchor, he respected it. Didn't try to go for a mix-up because he was scared of kind of like just me mashing DP super. And eventually I made the comeback where like I do the overhead twice.
Do not tell me. Do not tell me. Are we going to the second set? I want to see it. Let's see. Oh! Just wrong! Just wrong!
I can't believe he let me hit him with an overhead twice. That was insane. Getting that reset felt really good because now we're starting fresh. I really thought I was gonna win that set. I thought I was gonna win that set completely, but then we tied it up, right? 2-2, the final set. 5th game, I got the first hit.
Ready to unleash speed and reliability? You got it. From Quantum Fiber, it's internet freedom unleashed. Quantum Fiber internet sets you free like never before. Unleashed.
I got the first hit. In my head, I had the whole like flow chart done. Finish the Storm Infinite, do a meaty Typhoon in the Hailstorm, cancel the Wolverine speed up. Virgil's not guessing right at all. Game over, I win. But you know what happens? I drop the Infinite on a Pixel 0. Air grabs me, kills my whole entire team after that. And I lost. And I was really, really sad because I'm like, how can I ever make that run again? Like after I got second, right? And then walking through that Evo hall, you know, that long Evo hall back to the hotel, everyone's like, you got it next year. You got it next year. I don't want to hear that. I know they're being nice to like, hey, you know, don't worry about it. It was such a good game, but you're gonna win next year. I did not believe anything these guys are saying, right? I actually gambled for like 10 hours straight after that. That's how sad I was for losing 2013. I think the energy for Evo Finals is always gonna be different because if you win this tournament, you're the best in the world. I feel like if you win CEO, you're the CEO champion. You win Common Breaker, you're a Common Breaker champion. There's something with you're an Evo champion. There's something that people were like, I'm the world champion when you say Evo. You say that you're the Evo world champion. Evo really puts that out as that, and everyone respects this is a world tournament because everyone around the world comes for this tournament. That's kind of why people take Evo so much more seriously. So for 2014, I actually all in and only practiced Marvel 3. I was like labbing out against all these big teams. I also was like thinking, you know what, maybe against Chris G, because I always know I'm always gonna fight Chris G. I always fight Chris G at Evo no matter what. I'm going to change up my team order. I discovered this strategy in like January. So throughout the whole entire season, anytime I fought Chris G, I always did Wolverine on point. I'm only gonna pick Storm if I run into him at Evo. That's pretty much what's changed the game, because I do think if I did pick Wolverine from jump, he probably would have won that year. But because I picked Storm, I got away with 2 games.
And he's starting over.
Because he did not know what to do for 2 games. It was a big strategy, which really worked out in my favor against Chris G. I also got super lucky against Filipino champ. There was 2 games where I was really surprised I won. The 3rd game where he was laming me out. 80 seconds, I could not get in against his Magneto. He's just magnetic blast the whole entire time. For some reason, the last 10 seconds, I made this comeback where I killed Magneto, almost killed Doom. He switched into Phoenix because he already had 5 bars from jump. I snapped Phoenix back out. Like I was like, I don't want her in here. I want to snap her out so we could bring Dr. Doom back in to kill more of the time. And I won time over because of that. So that was kind of like an insane thought process, but like a lot of people might not have done it. They might have popped her and then he would have won because Dark Phoenix came out. And then the final game, it was completely luck. The evil stage really got to him because it was just Akuma versus Dark Phoenix. And I shot a fireball, caused her to turn dark, and then I dashed in, but he pressed a button, hits me, and then he cancels into X Factor, it dashes in. The right decision was press a button, X Factor, press a button, and then dash in for the rest of the combo. But he decided to press a button, X Factor, dash in, where I'm able to block now, press a button. And I was just mashing Team Super the whole entire time. Hit Phoenix, so in my head, all right, we got Phoenix out, now it's Akuma. For some reason, Dr. Doom was in the middle. He came out of nowhere, got happy birthday. I was like, damn, Ryan, thanks for letting me win. I felt like you just gave me the game. You could tell he was so upset because he just like threw the headset down the floor, and I was shocked. I was super shocked that I won that because he was playing so good that set. Trying to overcome that team with my team was really tough, and it was kind of a miracle. I would say that's the hardest match I had in a tournament because I had a set plan for Chris, but I didn't have a set plan for Ryan. Winning Marvel 3 at 2014 is probably my favorite win of all time. Everyone was like, oh, I'm such a fan that you don't play the cheap broken stuff, you just want to play what you want. So in my head, I'm like, man, I can't tier 4 now. Like if I switch, people are gonna hate me. So I kind of like that feeling where I was like, I'm the underdog, people cheer for me, and it felt really nice. It felt really good. And I think hearing my name's chant in 2013, I was like, I want them to chant my name in 2014 as well. 2013, I didn't finish the story, but 2014, I finished the story. It really felt like my hard work paid off because I practiced so much Marvel 3 that year. I still have YouTube unlisted like videos of like these techs against like other top players. I think that was like the only time I ever done something like that.
Oh my God! He just takes it! He takes it! He's back! Unbelievable! He's back! He's back!
What is an Evo champion? That's so vague, it's so hard. I feel like for me, the reason why I play all these fighting games, I think it's just because it's really hard for me to hate any fighting game. Like maybe the developers don't know like how they want the final like game to look like, and it's all up to the players. I want to always see what that looks like. And I think the obsession of finding that makes me successful into winning tournaments, doing well at Evo. Because there's a lot of times where, okay, yeah, I won Evo, but there's a lot of times where I got like 2nd or 3rd or just in top 8 in general. It's just my obsession of finding that answer of like, how do I be good at this fighting game? I think it's always gonna be like that because no matter what, I think 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, I don't see myself not playing a Street Fighter or a Marvel or like any type of new fighting game, whatever comes out. Like I'll always love it, and I think that's kind of, you know, what it means to be an Evo champion. It's the passion, it's the joy of playing a fighting game at like its purest form.
Auto insurance all seems the same until it's time to use it. With USAA, it's easy to file claims, schedule repairs, and
I tried the hand it just wasn't working for me. You know what I'm saying? And it's because one day I remember specifically, I was just I had a body pillow and I rubbed against the body pillow in a way that made me go, oh, this is a curious feeling. And I was like, let me explore this, right? So it went from me just kind of like rubbing up against the pillow to one day I like squished it against myself. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And so as soon
This episode of the Y-Files is brought to you by Rocket Money. Navy engineer Ed Cameron and his brother Duncan waited nervously. They hoped this time would be better than the last. A lot of good men died that day, and they did not die well. This new technology could turn the tide of World War II. Sacrifices had to be made. Ed hoped those sacrifices wouldn't be in vain. Just when they thought the experiment was working, all hell broke loose. They ran from the engine room to the deck. Like before, a swirling green vortex of light surrounded the ship. They kept running and gave each other a knowing look as they reached the end of the deck and jumped. Just as they were about to hit the water, Albielek opened his eyes. It was the most vivid dream he'd ever had. It felt like a memory. That June morning in 1977 was the day Albielek became obsessed with the Philadelphia experiment.
I'm gonna give you my #1 tip to get over a breakup, and that is gonna be going to therapy. Going to therapy helped me so much.
You can get yourself clean. You could have a good meal. You can do...
Human, I'm glad you're there. I need some cash. It's an emergency.
No way. I told you that Gertie could stay if you paid for the water. Camels drink 30 gallons a day, you know. I'm not giving you a dime until you pay the late water bill.
Gray water bill? Did he find me already? Oh no, this is why I need the money.
Late water bill? Who's Gray water bill?
Well, a few months back I needed money for a new business, and you wouldn't give me any, so I went to see Don Barracuda. You know, the Codfather?
The Codfather?
It's a fish pun for the Godfather, the head of an organized crime family.
I know what it... Wait, what happened?
Well, Don Barracuda lent me the money, but I'm late on my payment. Greywater Bill is muscle for the Don. If I don't cough up some dough, he's gonna break my fins.
You went to a loan shark?
Loan shark? No, he works for the whole school.
No, that's... Look, you need Rocket Money. It analyzes your spending habits and helps you create custom budgets.
Oh, did you just muscle your way into today's sponsor?
I sure did. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. It safely and securely identifies recurring charges, canceling unwanted subscriptions. In addition to canceling subscriptions, by simply uploading a photo of your bill and tapping a few buttons, Rocket Money will negotiate your bills for you. Anything from internet service to cable and phone bills.
No, this could really save my dorsal fin.
Yes, it could. Rocket Money has already helped save its customers up to $740 a year, with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, go to rocketmoney.com/yfiles or click the link in the description to get started for free.
rocketmoney.com/yfiles to get started for free?
You got it.
Thanks, human. This could really get... Uh-oh, I think he's here.
Greywater Bill?
Yeah, every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
What do we do?
Nothing I could do, human. Looks like I'm sleeping with the fishes tonight.
As World War II loomed, the United States found itself unprepared. America wasn't a superpower then. Its military was only the 10th largest in the world, half the size of England's. The US military needed an edge. Building an army would take years, so that edge would have to come from technology. During World War I, Nikola Tesla worked with the United States Army on remote control technology and ways to detect submarines. Tesla said he created a particle beam weapon nicknamed Tesla's Death Ray, though there's no evidence that it worked.
Yeah, is there?
Okay, there might be evidence it worked. A little too well.
Tesla's death ray link down below, yo.
The war began in 1939. Germany seemed invincible. By 1942, Nazi forces occupied almost all of Europe, North Africa, and huge parts of Russia. The US, now part of the Allies, appeared to be on the losing side. Desperate for an advantage, the US military once again looked to science. Tesla had ideas for electromagnetic weapons, including one for invisibility. In 1919, Albert Einstein proved light could be bent by gravity. Out of desperation, the United States launched Project Rainbow. Building on the theories of Tesla and Einstein, scientists designed a device that could make ships invisible to radar and invisible to the naked eye. The goal was ambitious: create a powerful electromagnetic field to warp space-time around the ship. A prototype was installed on the USS Eldridge. In July 1943, they were ready for the first test. Dr. John von Neumann, a scientist working with the Navy, would lead the project. To operate the equipment, von Neumann chose two Navy engineers, brothers Edward and Duncan Cameron. They manned their stations in the engine room, and when the call came in, they switched on the machine. Within a few seconds, the ship resonated with a deep humming sound. Then a glowing green fog appeared. People watching from the dock and nearby ships couldn't believe it. The Eldridge was gone. That is, until it mysteriously turned up in Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. But the strangest part? It was seen there 10 minutes before the equipment was turned on.
Wait. So it was invisible or it time traveled?
Both. 20 minutes later, the Eldridge reappeared in Philadelphia, but something had gone terribly wrong.
The doctors told me that getting pregnant again would be extremely high risk, and when it happened, I faced this very
When the Eldridge reappeared in Philadelphia, sailors on other ships cheered. They thought the experiment was a success. It wasn't. For the men aboard, it was a nightmare. Men were found fused to parts of the ship, screaming in agony. Ed and Duncan Cameron survived the experiment, but other survivors weren't so lucky. Some had severe burns and radiation sickness. Some went insane. Some men simply vanished. Despite the disaster, the US Navy saw potential. They brought in their top scientific consultant, Albert Einstein, for advice.
Yeah, if you're gonna phone a friend, he's a good one to have on speed dial.
He sure is.
So you're going with the laws of physics are the same for all non-accelerating observers, and that the speed of light in a vacuum is constant, regardless of the observer's motion. Is that your final answer?
On October 28, 1943, after repairs and upgrades, it was time for another Philadelphia experiment. Ed and Duncan Cameron took their posts. The call came in from the bridge. It was time to go. Ed turned on the machine, which spun to life with the familiar low humming sound. The Cameron brothers waited nervously. A few seconds later, there was an explosion. The machine was shaking itself loose, and fires were breaking out everywhere. Ed and Duncan raced topside and saw the same bright green vortex surrounding the ship. They jumped over the railing, expecting to land in the water in the Philadelphia shipyard. Instead, they fell through the bright green light and hit dry land. They were still covered in light, but now the light was coming from a helicopter and the headlights of a Jeep. Two military policemen yanked Ed and Duncan to their feet and drove them to a building nearby. They were escorted down a long hallway and placed into an elevator. An MP hit a button, the door closed, and they felt themselves going down, a long way down. When the elevator doors opened, they saw a familiar face, Dr. John von Neumann, the physicist in charge of the experiment. But von Neumann looked old, very old. Von Neumann said, "Welcome to 1983, boys." The Cameron brothers looked at each other confused. Did he say 1983? That's not right. The year was 1943. Then von Neumann said, "Come with me. A lot has happened in the last 40 years." Ed and Duncan thought they were jumping to safety when they jumped overboard. They had no idea they'd be jumping through time. Ed and Duncan Cameron found themselves in an underground facility beneath Montauk Air Force Station on Long Island. Officially, it was a decommissioned radar station. Unofficially, it was the headquarters of the Montauk Project, a continuation and escalation of the Philadelphia experiment. And like the Philadelphia experiment, the Montauk Project could manipulate the fabric of time and space. But now the manipulation could be controlled.
Controlled by what?
Psychics and alien technology.
Ah! This story feels like Christmas morning. Please continue.
Central to the experiments was the Montauk chair. The chair used computers to generate electromagnetic fields that interacted with human brainwaves. Nikola Tesla's theories on resonance and energy played a role in the chair's design. The technology that connected the human mind to the machine was reverse engineered from UFOs. Many recovered UFOs had no physical controls. They were operated by the mind of the pilot. The Montauk chair amplified psychic abilities, allowing subjects to manifest objects, see distant locations, and travel through time.
Oy, I hope it had good lumbar support. Time travel is murder on your lower back. Murder.
Both Ed and Duncan used the chair effectively, but Duncan was naturally talented. His abilities made him the focal point of the tests. During one intense session, Duncan's eyes rolled back, his voice became unnaturally deep, and he said he could see other worlds and parallel dimensions. He said the multiverse is real. Edward wasn't as proficient, but he could still travel through time. On one occasion, Ed and Duncan traveled together to the year 2137, and they did not like what they found.
Ready for a great internet value? You got it from Quantum Fiber. It's internet freedom unleashed. Quantum Fiber internet sets you free like never before. Unleash the way you stream, scroll, share, and work, all with unlimited data and no annual contract. And with Price for Life Internet, you can keep your internet service monthly rate for as long as you keep your plan. Quantum Fiber, it's your world unleashed.
Behold, this arena will be built for Rome.
By 1987, Duncan had mastered the Montauk chair. He could visit any time or place and bring Ed with him. The brothers sat in their chairs. Duncan focused on sending them 150 years into the future, to 2137. There was a flash of light, and suddenly they were in a wasteland. In the distance, they saw cities and ruins. They walked past the occasional outpost, but most locals didn't want anything to do with them. But some were willing to talk.
Sometime in the late 2020s, a nuclear war broke out between the West, Russia, and China. Every big city on Earth was destroyed, and most small cities too. Governments were gone. People became tribal again. The war caused a climate catastrophe that put the coastlines underwater. Only about 100 million people survived.
Despite this disaster, people still expressed hope for the future.
There aren't many of us left, but we're still moving technology forward. Not as fast as we'd like, but we're resilient. We still innovate. Everyone is building weapons, of course, but we've also been able to cure most diseases. And we think we've discovered a way to heal the planet. It's just a matter of time.
Just a matter of time, she said. Duncan and Ed decided to test this theory. They went into the future 300 more years, to 2749. This place was very different. Ed and Duncan described it as a utopia. Society had rebuilt itself in harmony with technology and nature. Buildings floated using anti-gravity. Energy was clean and limitless, pulled from the quantum vacuum. Pollution didn't exist.
How dare you!
Oh, and governments didn't exist.
Oh, I like the sound of that. But if there's no government, who's running things?
Artificial intelligence.
They put AI in charge of the whole world? Oh, you humans. Yeah, this won't end well.
People lived in peace and wanted for nothing. Money was no longer necessary. Technology provided food, education, entertainment, and anything else they needed. Education and personal development were prioritized. People spent their lives learning and exploring their interests, free from the burdens of labor and survival. This was a world where humanity had not just survived, but thrived. This future was paradise. The thought of returning to Montauk's cold underground rooms was depressing. This place was blissful. Ed and Duncan could finally be free of the infamous Montauk Project and the Montauk Chair. So, defying their orders, they decided to stay. Ed opened his eyes and checked his watch. Though he and Duncan lived in the future for 2 years, no time had passed. This was a superpower. They could travel anywhere in time and the world. And then Ed heard Duncan's voice in his mind. Not just anywhere in the world, we can travel to any world in the galaxy.
Wait, what?
A flash of light transported them to another planet. It was stark and desolate, bathed in perpetual twilight. The sky was an eerie shade of purple. The air was thin and tasted metallic. Jagged mountains and barren plains stretched to the horizon.
If you could go anywhere in the galaxy, why would you go there? I mean, I would go to Ryza, or at least some place with room service and a decent lobby bar.
Ed was also curious why Duncan brought them to such a harsh place. Duncan said this planet is home to the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Duncan described the inhabitants as tall, slender beings with long limbs and large almond-shaped eyes. They communicated telepathically. They mastered teleportation. They could manipulate matter at the molecular level. They were nearly immortal. Ed was about to ask a question, but then Duncan closed his eyes, and once again there was a flash of light. Then they were in a lush jungle, and judging by the sound, this planet was teeming with life. And Duncan said it was, then transmitted an image into Ed's mind, a huge city built into the jungle landscape. Ed asked who lived there. Duncan motioned to the jungle behind him and said, "They do." Ed turned and saw 2 reptilian creatures watching them from the jungle.
Lizard people?
Yep.
Does this kid have a death wish? If there's only one rule in interdimensional space travel, it's do not go to the lizard people planet.
Ed got the same impression. He said the creatures didn't look friendly, and Duncan said they're not. We should get out of here. Then he fell to his knees like he was kicked in the gut. Ed helped him up and asked if he was all right. Duncan said, "No, Ed, I'm not. We need to get back to Montauk. There's something I have to tell you."
Yo, did you pick up milk?
Do you see milk in the fridge?
No.
Then I didn't pick up the fucking milk.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Annie. You don't have cat.
Ed Cameron opened his eyes, disconnected from his chair, and bolted down the hall. He burst into his brother Duncan's room. Duncan looked terrible. He was panting, sweating, and his skin was pale. Dr. von Neumann walked in next.
Ed, I'm sorry. Your brother is dying. Every time he jumps, he gets worse. Every jump spins off a new timeline. He's created paradoxes we didn't foresee, and he's damaged the fabric of space-time itself.
Ed asked if there was anything that could be done.
This all started in Philadelphia back in '43. We need to stop that experiment from ever happening. So, as soon as Duncan is strong enough, you two will make one last jump. You'll go to the Eldridge and destroy the equipment. That should repair our timeline.
Ed agreed to go, but what happens after that?
When you return from the Eldridge, Duncan will... I have to be honest with you, Ed. It's dangerous. Duncan will project his consciousness and yours into the brains of infants in the late 1920s, before the experiment was conceived. Your host is named Al Bielek.
Ed was confused. He was born in 1916. Would he coexist with this other person?
All your memories will be suppressed. Al Bielek won't know that your consciousness is there. We need to keep your and Duncan's knowledge hidden. The other Ed and Duncan Cameron will never be a part of the experiment. But if we need you, this version of you, in the future, we'll know where to find you.
Now Ed understood what had to be done.
Yeah, at least somebody understands. This story sounds like it was written by Christopher Nolan on magic mushrooms.
The consciousness transfer was a security measure. Ed and Duncan had a lot of valuable knowledge. If the Philadelphia experiment never happens, then the Montauk Project never happens. And maybe that's a good thing, but it makes sense to keep their knowledge safe, just in case. Ed felt a sudden shiver and asked von Neumann a question. He was pretty sure he already knew the answer. He asked what happens to them here in Montauk after the consciousness transfer.
Once we're sure that both your consciousnesses have been transferred safely, I will tell Duncan a phrase. The time is now. It's a subliminal message. The time is now. As soon as he hears the phrase, he will summon a monster from another dimension. That monster will destroy our equipment, our files, everything. And when that's done, it will kill us all.
Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Al Bielek worked as an electrical engineer, and his co-workers described him as thoughtful and intelligent. But he also had a fascination with fringe science. In 1985, Al went to Montauk, New York, to hear Preston Nichols give a presentation about how he used electromagnetic waves for various applications, from healing to amplifying psychic power. Al wanted to learn more about his psychic research. Nichols walked on stage with his assistant, who he introduced to the audience. His name was Duncan Cameron. Though he'd never seen Duncan before, Al swore he knew him. After the presentation, Al introduced himself.
And we talked for about 2.5 hours. About halfway through this, I got this strange feeling in the pit of my stomach. I knew this guy from someplace. So I finally asked him, I says, Duncan, do you have any feeling, any idea that possibly you know me from somewhere? So he said, yes. I says, I do. I says, from where? He says, I have no idea. And I said, I got the same feeling. I also have no idea where it's from.
Preston smiled and said he wanted to show them something. A few miles east was an abandoned military base, the old Montauk Air Force Station. Preston said they might find answers there. They explored the empty buildings all day, and Al had an eerie sense that he'd been there before.
We felt something, we didn't like it. We went driving, finally parked the van at the park, and we went wandering on the grounds, wide open. Fences were down. Further into the grounds we went, the more ugly we felt about what we were feeling. We were not nauseous, but we were very highly disturbed with the fields around that property in broad daylight.
Over the next couple of years, Al's memories of the Montauk Project returned. Preston Nichols told Al he was brainwashed. Preston said the same thing happened to him. Preston Nichols lived 2 lives simultaneously. In one, he was an electrical engineer. In the other, he was the director of the Montauk Project.
Links to deep dive on the Montauk Project and Preston Nichols down there with all the other words.
Al Bielek was brainwashed the same way. And now that his memories were returning, his recurring dreams started to make sense. In the dream, Al's name was Edward Cameron. He worked with his brother Duncan on a ship. There was an accident. They jumped overboard, and then Al woke up. Then in 1988, everything fell into place. Al, now retired, was watching TV late one night.
At 4 a.m. in the morning, HBO announced that the next feature of the evening would be the Philadelphia Experiment. It started to trigger memories. First at the Phoenix Project, then in '88, when I, for the first time, saw the movie, it hit me like a bomb, and I started to remember the Philadelphia Experiment.
Because of the movie, Al's repressed memories of the Philadelphia Experiment came flooding back in.
If you've ever seen the movie, The Philadelphia Experiment, they show the opening scene taking place in a bar in downtown Philadelphia. That did actually occur. The name of that bar was the Blue Lagoon. I was there quite a bit. In the movie, they show two principals running the equipment who were having their last night out. The taller one, played by, I think it was Robert Perret, was my brother. The other one, who was shorter, and they didn't have a role model, and who had the girlfriend, was me.
Over the next 2 years, Al Bielek recalled all of Edward Cameron's memories and the truth was ugly. The Montauk Project was a black ops government program to create psychological weapons.
At Harbor Freight, we're committed to ensuring our tools are expertly engineered and built to last. We rigorously test and refine our...
Thousands of people were used in experiments against their will. Most were boys between 10 and 15 years old. Some of these children remember the experiments. They're known as the Montauk Boys.
They wanted a large number of programmed boys to be used for mind control operations. The Montauk Boys program, basically, what they were doing, they would pick up boys, young men, off the street.
So they started picking these kids up because they were quite literally homeless. When they were done programming them, they would send them back to where they had come from, waiting to be used.
There was a psychic by the name of Duncan Cameron, who was one of the ones used, and many of us boys who were in our early teens at the time were used energetically to boost him while he was in the chair.
In 1990, Al Bielek started giving lectures nationwide. He wanted to expose the government cover-up of the Montauk Project. He wanted the public to know about the human rights violations, missing children, about the abuse.
I went to Jack Pruitt, the station master, and said, look, we've got to change this program. We're beating these kids to death, and they're being treated very badly. They refuse to become part of it.
Al Bielek and Preston Nichols said the Montauk Project focused on mind control, time travel, interdimensional travel, and psychics. The US government denies these claims as ridiculous. But are they? Did the US government research time travel and interdimensional travel? Yes, that was the gateway process. Did the US government use psychics for military and espionage? Yes, that was Project Stargate. And the big one, did the US government conduct mind control experiments on people against their will? Yes, that was the MK Ultra program.
Many unwitting men, including themselves, all with the use of a hidden camera. I was only 9 years old when this sexual humiliation began. I was in what looked like a laboratory, and there seemed to be other children. I was strapped down, naked, spread eagle, on a table, on my back. Dr. Green had electrodes on my body, including my head. I was exploited unwittingly for nearly 3 decades of my life, and the only explanations given to me were that, quote, the end justifies the means, and, quote, I was serving my country in their bold effort to fight communism. Fight communism.
Yeah, we got links to all that stuff down there too, down in the place.
There's no hard evidence that the Montauk Project happened, but does it really matter? The evil acts allegedly committed during the Montauk Project did happen at one time or another. I bet there are evil acts being committed against our citizens right now. So I'll make this promise to the scientists and researchers working in secret government programs. I'll stop reporting the crimes you commit against your own people when you stop committing them. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. I've covered the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project before. Today's story is Al Bielek's. Al came forward in 1989 and quickly became a star in the UFO/conspiracy community. He's been on over 40 radio shows, including Coast to Coast. He's headlined over 40 conferences. It's easy to see why. He has a great story, and Al tells it well. But is it true? Well, that's tricky. We're not asking if the Philadelphia experiment or Montauk Project happened. We're asking if Al Bielek's story is true. Al said he was born in New York in 1927. That's true, but he also said he was age regressed. In the future, he was sent back in time to when he was a fetus. Edward Cameron's consciousness was sent back with him. Al said he served in the Navy, but there's no record of this. No record of Edward or Duncan Cameron serving on the Eldridge or any Navy ship. On the day of the Philadelphia experiment, the Eldridge was in New York. Al says all records of the experiment were erased by the government. The Philadelphia experiment conspiracy theory really starts with two men, a UFO fan named Carl Allen and a UFO writer named Morris Jessup.
There's a link down there for that too. We got links for these. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Get your links right here.
The time travel storyline wasn't part of the Philadelphia experiment legend until the movie was released. Al's story contains a lot of details from the movie. And Al's story has changed over time. Originally, he jumped from 1943 to 1983, but over the years, he added 2137, 2043, 2749, 3543, and all kinds of other dates. Sometimes Duncan stays behind in a certain time. Sometimes Al stays behind and works as a tour guide in the future with anti-gravity and floating cities.
The tour guide on an anti-gravity city? Okay, folks, please follow me and stay with your group. We're floating. Okay, stop. And we're floating. No flash photography, please. And we're floating.
Al's story is flexible. When challenged, he said he's discovering new memories repressed from brainwashing. The Edward Cameron backstory evolved too, but Ed Cameron never existed. On Al's website was a picture of Edward Cameron, except it wasn't. It was really a Princeton yearbook photo of a Cameron, Alexander Cameron III, class of '36. Al says the picture is Edward Cameron from a different timeline. Al's used other photos that were proven to be fake. Al said John von Neumann ran the project. Von Neumann was a real scientist, but he died in 1957. How could he be in Montauk in 1983? Al said he faked his death for protection.
Dr. von Neumann is still alive today. Official records say that he died December or sometime in '57 of cancer. They gave him a new identity, but he remained on the project, and he was a director of the Phoenix Project until '77. Whereupon he became a consultant because he developed a split personality. Today, he is the split personality, if you will.
Al also said the Office of Naval Research was involved in the Philadelphia experiment. The experiment happened in 1943. The ONR wasn't formed until 1946. There's plenty of evidence Al Bielek made the whole thing up. But when backed into a corner, he used the different timeline trope as a crutch.
Now that crutch worked well in Marvel movies.
But did it though?
No, it did not.
I wanted to make a thrill ride like you've never seen before.
It's all bets are off.
No way. Get ready.
If you're a web designer, here are 4 Wix Studio features you gotta know. So first on the list, Section Grid. I'm talking about a revolutionary tool that lets you create your own intricate layouts, but still keeps it intuitive at every step. So you can split cells, create...
Al said nuclear war happens in 2000. When that didn't happen, he said 2005, then 2015. Al Bielek passed away in 2011, so we don't have an update on when the nuclear war actually starts. While Al Bielek was gaining fame telling his story, other people were popping up saying the same thing happened to them, but they'd add new details. Al would then incorporate those details into his own story. That's how the Montauk Project eventually became part of Al's story. Now, I won't go into the Montauk Project connection here. I cover that in another episode where I have a lot to say about Preston Nichols. Things that aren't widely reported. Things that you won't like. I talk about Al Bielek in that episode too, but it's a different version of his story. Today's was his original version with some new details like traveling to other planets. I included that chapter because it was fun.
And there was a chance for me to say lizard people. And the people love it when I say that.
They do.
How did you know you could buy your very own lizard people mug from the Wi-Fi store? Just go to...
No merch plugs. We do those at the end. Al Bielek never provided physical evidence or any information that could be confirmed. We do know that he was always a little paranoid and into conspiracies. A former co-worker of Al's was asked if he believed the story. He said Al was a nice guy and intelligent, but he wasn't surprised to hear the story.
I find this story pretty hard to believe, but it sure seems like a logical progression for Al from what I recall. He was always talking about underground bases and government cover-ups. He had one story after another about secret research, UFOs, extraterrestrials, you name it.
Another former co-worker also confirmed Al was into all this stuff, but it didn't bother him.
Hey, if I could get people to pay to hear my once upon a time bullshit stories, I'd do it too. More power to them. Caveat emptor. Everyone has to exercise his or her own wisdom in deciding if someone is the real thing or not.
And that's the main theme of the Y-Files. I try to give you as much information as I can. It's really up to you to decide what you believe. Now, true or not, these stories spark our imagination. They keep us interested in concepts like time travel, psychic phenomena, alternate realities, and other mysteries of the universe. We'll only unlock these mysteries if we stay fascinated by the possibilities of not what is, but what could be. Also, these stories remind us to keep an eye on the government. Secret government research is real. We only know this because of whistleblowers from Al Bielek to Bob Lazar, to Phil Schneider, to David Brush, and many more. But don't blindly accept their claims as true, and don't instantly assume their claims are false. Demand proof. You believe them? Good. Investigate and prove it. You think they're lying? Good. Investigate and prove it. We only know about MK Ultra, Stargate, Project Blue Book, and all the others because whistleblowers came forward. They made unbelievable claims that most people dismissed. But some people believed the stories. They investigated and found proof that the claims were true. On one side are true believers. On the other, die-hard skeptics. Both sides constantly try to prove the other wrong. Good. Keep investigating. Both sides want the same thing. What we all want. What we all deserve. We deserve the truth. Thank you so much for hanging out today. My name is AJ. There's Hecklefish.
Where's the beef?
This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything, do him a favor, subscribe, comment, like, share. All those buttons, click those. That really makes him happy. And like most topics we cover, today's was recommended by you. Now, if you have a story idea or something you'd like us to explore, head over to theyfiles.com/tips. Don't forget, The Y-Files is also a podcast. Twice a week, I release deep dives on the stories we cover here, plus exclusive episodes that don't make it to the channel. You can find the Y-Files Operation Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Now, if you need more Y-Files in your life, check out our Discord. There are thousands of people on there 24/7, and they're into the same weird stuff that we are. It's a great community, it's really supportive, it's a lot of fun, and it's free to join. Now, stay up to date with all things Y-Files by checking out our production calendar at theyfiles.com.
As a nurse, you're constantly in motion helping others. Isn't it time to take some steps forward to help yourself? Go from RN to BSN in as few as 12 months at Post University. Flexible online classes start soon. Apply now at post.ed.
Like, everybody has been pushing to a war with Iran.
Lindsey Graham, to all these guys, to all the rhinos, to everybody on the left, to Nikki Haley, they want this war. So I just feel, you know, you just got the nod. You're coming in there. You're already talking war with Iran. That's one thing that I have a little problem. But other than that, I think he's a great guy.
Yeah. You know, I think the biggest thing is what he's doing. I think the comment he made with Sean Hannity in the interview was what Trump did when he took Hassan Soleimani out, and he showed strength immediately, and then Iran, you know, fake bombs a place that nobody cares about, that nobody was there just to show strength, and they didn't. I think that's what he meant by that. Well, I have a complete different opinion about this year's 2024 VP candidate, and I said that earlier yesterday on Twitter. Vinny, President Trump could have called you and asked you or Tom to be the VP, he would have made it work. If they announced Vincent Oshana as the vice president choice, they would have said, for a couple days, they would write all these weird articles about you, or Tom Ellsworth. A couple days, they would have written a couple articles about you. Then they would have moved on. Why am I saying this? This is not to take anything away from JD. JD's a future star of the party. Some people think he's going to run for office. This is a guy that talks about his grandmother cursed like a sailor, and his mother dealt with, you know, drugs and alcohol, and she had challenges with that, but she's been sober for over 10 years. And then his father was abusive, and, you know, both him and his mother experienced domestic violence, what it was like apparently, because the father was very abusive. Gets out, you know, goes to the Marines 4 years, then goes to Ohio State University, I believe, then goes to Yale, which, by the way, at Yale, him and Vivek went to school together, and he's got 3 kids. J.D. Vance has got 3 kids, of which one of his kids is named Vivek. I believe his youngest kid is named Vivek.
Oh, wow.
And they came from the same school. By the way, Rob, I don't know if you have a picture of him, and if you type in Vivek Ramaswamy and J.D. Vance, Yale, you'll see a picture of them next to each other, including one other name, by the way, which is Pete Buttigieg. While they were, I think there is a picture of Pete Buttigieg, but I think that's when they were asking a presidential candidate a question. Well, you should be able to pull up a picture of J.D. Vance and Vivek. And when they asked Vivek, Vivek immediately said, great choice. Couldn't have gone better. This is a legacy. The best duo. Vivek, the reaction he had was such a classy reaction on the way he went about it. But let me get back to this. The reason why I say it doesn't matter who was the VP choice, obviously, I'm being a little bit, to try to make my point, sarcastic, that it doesn't matter at all. You need somebody that is qualified. But the point is, this is 99% Trump, 1% VP. This isn't 2016, which was 80% Trump, 20% VP, because they wanted a Christian, stable guy come in so the conservatives could at least vote for Mike Pence. They're not voting this time for Mike Pence. They're not voting for J.D. Vance. Now, this is a very big pick for J.D. Vance. Very big pick for J.D. Vance. Life-changing. When he was asked, what do you think your role is as a VP? He says, well, the president can't be everywhere at the same time. He's going to need me to help him out in any areas he needs me to. And also the job of a VP is, if something happens to the president, you have to be ready for the call. And he says, I don't think anything's going to happen to the president because he's very healthy. I've never seen a more energized person at his age. He is so energized. Even after he was shot, when he called me to say I'm going to be the VP, at a long conversation with my son, 5-minute conversation with my 7-year-old son, while we're in the moment celebrating, oh my God, you're going to be the VP. He's willing to do those additional things that most people are not willing to do. And you got to respect that. And in the interim, Kamala Harris called him to congratulate him. Apparently, he didn't pick up the call. Obviously, busy goes to message. But Brett Baer, which I think is the right way to do it, is immediately call out all the stuff. And Sean Hannity brought up all the stuff. It's the right way to do it. You said this about Trump. You said this about abortion. You said this about this. And he has to be able to answer those questions. Rob, I think you got one of the clips with Brett Baer. If you want to prepare it and play it, I think it's important for the audience to see, for some of them that didn't catch it. If you do have it, go on and play the clip. Go for it.
This is an evolution, and I know you've been asked about this before, about past comments that you've made about Donald Trump. You've said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him. terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler. Might be a cynical a-hole, cultural heroine, noxious and reprehensible. Those are things that this is inevitable.
So, you know, you hear a clip like that, and then Politico does a story saying 52 things, you know, 55 things, as if, you know, they couldn't just do it with like 10 things. They decided to do a story, Politico, saying 55 things you don't know about J.D. Vance. Rob, if you want to pull up the clip, we'll go through it with him. One, he wrote in his hillbilly elegy, I'll be the first to admit that I've accomplished nothing great in my life, okay? I'm not a senator, this is at the time. I'm not a governor or a former cabinet secretary. I haven't started a billion-dollar company or world-changing nonprofit. That's Political saying that. Number two, in 2015, 2 years after graduating from Yale, Vance joined Mithril Capital, venture capital firm run by Silicon Valley, Scion Peter Thiel, okay? That's a good thing to have that kind of experience working. 2016, he announced his plans to move back to Ohio from California to start our Ohio Renewal, a nonprofit dedicated to making it easier to disadvantaged children to achieve their dreams. Good. November 2022, he was elected to U.S. Senate from Ohio with the help of $10 million donations from Thiel. Okay, it was his first public office. 5, on Monday, he was named Trump's running mate. 6, reflecting on his first encounter with Thiel in 2011, he wrote, Thiel articulated a feeling that I was obsessed with achievement in not as an end to something meaningful, but to win a social competition. My worry that I had prioritized striving over character took a heightened significance. Striving for what? 7, he was born James Donald Bowman on August 2nd of 1984 in Ohio, an industrial city 30 miles north of Cincinnati and 20 miles south of Dayton. 8, his maternal grandparents, Jim and Bonnie Vance, known as Papa and Mama, moved to Middleton late 40s from Jackson, Kentucky, a town in the heart of Southeast Kentucky coal region. Jim was Bonnie. And by the way, this can keep going on. She was 13 years old and pregnant with Jim's child. They were unmarried at the time. When you go through all of these stories, his book turned into a movie, became a bestseller. The more and more you learn about this guy, the more and more you start there and say, okay, maybe this guy's a, you know, unique guy that's going to be able to pull something off and get some results with what he's got going on. I'll also add this with everything with J.D. Vance. While, you know, the idea of who Trump picks as a VP is not as important today as it was in 2016, I will say this as well. After the assassination attempt, we're having dinner and Kim said something, Tom's wife. She said, I don't think anybody right now wants the job of replacing Biden. Nobody wants the job of replacing Biden. What do you mean? Who wants the job right now? Think about it for a second. Who wants the job right now of replacing Biden? Hey, Newsom, you want the job? Oh, hell no. Not after what just happened. Are you kidding me? You want me to go up against him? I'm out. I'm not feeling well. I got long COVID. I don't want to be around other people to give them COVID. You know, I'm injured. I'm you know, a little bit, I'm taking a mental day or mental month off or mental 4 months off, right? Hey, Michelle Obama, I'm definitely out of this one. Hey, you know, whoever else that's, hey, maybe Whitmer takes it, but hey, all these other guys, hey, do you want the job? No. Kamala would take it if they had him step down and give it to Kamala. But I think the same way the VP nomination doesn't matter as much today, it could matter in 2 years. It could matter in 3 years. It doesn't today to win. The same way I don't think anybody now, after the assassination attempt, wants to do anything with it. I almost think behind closed doors, as much as there's a side of me that's paranoid to know that they're not going to just give it up and allow him to win, I think behind closed doors, everybody's like, no, Joe, you're right. You're the nominee. Joe Biden, you're the nominee. You go. Tom, what do you think? Do you think behind closed doors on the DNC side, was this a massive curveball for them to flip to another candidate instead of sticking with Joe Biden?
Well, they were worried about an October surprise. They got a massive
early surprise in the absolute wrong direction. There were already rumors that come out that there was a group of donors that were holding back I think it was 90 million. Check me on that, Pat. That they said, hey, we want to hold 90 million. Should we really be putting it behind Biden, or should we redirect to key Senate and key congressman races to see if we can hold Congress and Senate to hold majorities or to do some things there? They were ready. So this is groups, not one or two people. This was meaningful groups of donors and the DNC that were already saying, yeah, you know what? If we can't get Joe to back off from the nomination, then maybe let's redirect the major excess resources to Senate races and Congress races to hold the balance in the Senate and Congress, because Trump's going to get elected. They were already doing that. And after this weekend, and it's not just the assassination attempt, it is all the reactions. It's Elon Musk and him funding it. There it is right there. There's the article we're talking about. So I think that the DNC right now is probably flanking to protect the vulnerable Senate seats and to see if there's any Senate seats that are on the edge that they should be throwing dollars through to win. Because as we now know, the Senate is always like dad. The Congress is like mom. And I hate to say it that way, but one parent says, yeah, we can do this. Okay, well, let's vote on it. Okay, now let's go check with the Senate. The Senate is usually the block. The Senate is usually the block. And so I think the DNC, if I was there strategically, I'd be saying, hey guys, you need to put all your energy into the weak Senate races. This thing is done. This thing is done. Nothing short of bringing back Bill Clinton is going to be a candidate that you could put in here. And remember, now through the lens of history, we see Clinton was more of a centrist. I think the DNC, the playbook is, let's protect the seats we can protect and let Joe go. He is now not just the candidate, he's a sacrificial lamb. They'll never say that out loud.
Pat, can I ask you a question? Because you mentioned a little bit about the paranoia with everything. I mean, because I want to ask you a question on that sense. I mean, think about everything that they've done so far, from, Hillary, the Russian collusion, the fake impeachments, January 6th not being an insurrection, all the stuff, Pat, the lawfare, all these cases, Jack Smith, they just, unconstitutional case. Nothing's working, and now they just did assassination attempt. You know this, Pat, because I learned this from you about the enemy and choosing your enemies wisely. I'm not underestimating them. They're not finished. We have 112 days left till November. I'm not being Mr. Oh my God. I'm just saying they already went for the gusto for this. I understand that they're sticking with Biden, but Pat, do you think that they're going to try something different in the sense that, Pat, the movie Civil War came out. We kind of felt like that's where they were going. They missed that shot. Leave the world behind. That's the terrorist China attack. Stop the no electricity, no nothing. That's one option. Do you think that they are capable of doing something else to make the other side look bad, meaning 111 days? I apologize. Like, for instance, Pat, if they do something to, let's say, Biden or Kamala or whatever, which would probably be Biden, and blame the other side. I mean, it's possible. Do you think something like that might, be on the table?
We're capable of everything else. It's not over. But we got to manage it. We have to run this campaign.
Yeah, no, listen, only the paranoid survive. You have to stay that way. I think right now, to me, just because, the idea of like, oh, there's not going to be another attempt. There's just not going to be another attempt. And by the way, the whole thing that came out with Mayorkas, Rob, if you got all those clips, you know which ones I'm talking about with Mayorkas. So what would you have done differently? Is she going to get fired? Is there going to be anything there? I think this was good for the audience to see, because Vinny, for me, we have to focus on this area. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
Mm-hmm. In light of this weekend's events, the president has directed me to work with the Secret Service to provide protection to Robert Kennedy Jr.
That looks painful for him. That looks painful.
That's one. So one, Trump got RFK to get Secret Service, check. He got his opponent to get Secret Service protection that the existing president wasn't willing to do. So Trump is now leading Biden. That's one. Second, go ahead, Rob. Keep playing the clip on the next one when he talks about the how the head of Secret Service handled it. Go ahead.
You said that you have 100% confidence in the Secret Service. Do you have 100% confidence in Director Cheadle specifically?
Yes.
And Mr. Secretary, since Saturday, has anyone been reassigned or removed from Donald Trump's security detail?
I don't have knowledge of that. I do not believe so.
Okay, so they don't have the brass to fire people. That's the other part. When something like this happened, you got to fire them. And then watch what he says here. Go ahead, Rob. Slightly different
George,
position.
a direct line of sight like that to the former president should not occur. That is precisely why President Biden directed that an independent review of the incident occur. That will be done in close coordination with the FBI, which is conducting a separate criminal investigation, the importance of which cannot be overstated.
Yet you trust 100% of what Kim did. And by the way, Rob, if you can find the interview with Kim where she takes full responsibility when she's asking, she kind of hesitates a little bit. She's the head of Secret Service. And then at the same time, she blames the local police officers for what happened. And it's wild because just yesterday I had Eric Prince on from the founder of Blackwater, who they had $1.6 billion of government contracts, $600 million from the CIA. This guy's done a lot of stuff protecting heads of states for many, many years to come. And he's been part of many projects. Some of the ones that if you learn about, you're like, he did that, he did that. I said, who is in charge? You know how in movies, Vinny, many times are like, well, you can leave. The feds are here. FBI is here. We're not leaving. We're NYPD. You can leave. The FBI is here. And there's that battle between the FBI and, I said, who's above who? He said, the moment Secret Service shows up, everybody reports to Secret Service.
Exactly.
They're the leaders. So guess what, Cheeto? You can't say it is the other side. And I love that this gentleman here asked the question of her, and watch what her answers are. Go ahead, Rob.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
The president and Homeland Security Secretary said today they had 100% confidence in you, but there are some members of Congress calling on you to resign.
I appreciate the Secretary's comments, and we're going to continue to be transparent and communicate with people.
Do you plan to stay on? Absolutely.
I do plan to stay on.
Can you imagine? So how? Yeah, you listen. It's a mistake. It's just a mistake. Like who said a line like that? You know who used a line like that? What do you want me to do?
Hillary, what difference does it make?
Does it make?
What difference? People are dead. American soldiers are dead.
That's
Move
right.
on. And PBD, that is the perfect recipe for an assassination where, God forbid, he died. She's blaming them. Secret Service is blaming local law enforcement. The sniper may or may not have gotten stand-on wait orders. Everybody was pointing up there saying, there's the guy with the gun, and you let the president of the United States keep speaking for 2 to 3 minutes. That this is just one of those moments where it's a failure of security, failure of intelligence, and this guy dies. And that's exactly what they want. And I could see the pain in that little rat Mayorkas' face, Pat. It almost looks like he was disgusted to say that now we have to give RFK protection. I'm not going to talk about anything. It's ridiculous, Pat. It's like, we always know this. We like, it is what it is because I know exactly what these people are, bro.
By the way, you know what it is, Vinny? You were in the Air Force. Tom, you've ran many businesses. You've been part of many businesses, small, mid-sized, big. You've been part of raising money. You've been part of companies making massive mistakes. You've been part of things that we've done where mistakes were made collectively together. Almost 20 years in business. You know what typically happens? You step back and you look and you say, okay, you need better leadership over here. You need better decision making over here. That guy can't do it. People have a hard time working with him. This guy walks on eggshells. We need somebody that's going to lead these guys and bring them together. Or, there's no way to say this can happen. Why did that person get sued? Why did that contract fall? How can we do this contract? What can we do for this to not happen? That person got it. And then you have to make some immediate decisions. But imagine if it's like you lose your biggest contract, that's 50% of your top line revenue. You don't just say, yeah, I mean, listen, we're still going to keep on doing business the same way. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. This is a part where, for me, in every, like, imagine you lose a Super Bowl because of the same exact dumb mistake, and you say, Are you guys making any adjustments? No, the same exact thing. What? So let me ask you this, Mr. Carroll. If you have to do it, would you tip the ball for Russell Wilson to pass the ball? No, we're going to pass it again. What the hell are you talking about? Hand it to the freaking guy who ball to us like 20 yards. No, we're going to do the same thing again. That's not how life works. So my only concern is to be like, I'll never get knocked out again. You know how fighters like you fight like this, and you get one time to keep it up, someone catches your palm, and you're like, I'm still gonna fight like this again. It's like Wilder. Remember when Wilder kept getting knocked out, and at one point he had a nickname, something Bomber. So he was called the Bronze Bomber or something like that. And he was gone. So I just want to make sure people don't come from a place of this can't happen twice, because what this guy did, this guy was a legit amateur. 150 yards. You know what a 150-yard shooter could do? You're not even a sniper, Vinny. You're a marksman. You could probably make that shot, right?
Easy.
These guys make these shots from God knows how far. So they're lucky this guy didn't know what he was doing. If the right person knew, we would be in a very different place right now. People's lives would be very different right now. And there's many of these images that show if Trump doesn't go like this, if Trump doesn't go like this, and it stays talking like this, it's hitting this. If Trump doesn't do this, okay, it's this. Then what do? He's dead. Potentially dead. He's dead. Then what's the market looking like? Then what's America looking like? Then what's the world looking like? Then what's mayhem looking like? What do you think the people that support him are going to be? No, we'd be living a very different. We'd be living in a very different America right now. So my only concern is the paranoia side. I am convinced if everything goes pound for pound, I don't think they have any other tricks of going after him. I think they're on empty. Here's what I mean by it. Stormy Daniels, what are you going to top? Karen McDougal, what are you going to top? They're putting $463 million a state, whatever the number is. What are you going to top? Okay, hey, Russia collusion. No one believes you today. What are you going to top? Hey, this guy's a womanizer. Hey, this guy's a terrible. What are you going to top? The guy's kids all love him. They all support him. Marla Maples came out here saying I'm supporting Trump on the election. I mean, he's gone to his daughter's wedding, so there isn't anybody who doesn't have any relationships with those kids. Eric Trump absolutely adores his father. Junior is emotional. Ivanka goes to the hospital and is right next to him the entire time and writes a very sentimental message out there. This is a very formidable candidate that you can no longer use all your tactics. You can't. The only thing you have to do is the same card. It's the only one. They don't have any other tactics. So the other side, by the way, watch this. Elon Musk comes down and says I fully endorse Trump in that moment. And on top of that, he says I'm committing $45 million a month to a back of Trump between now and the election. So you look at that, it's $45 million a month, 111 days, roughly $160 million, $170 million, give or take. That's what Musk is saying. Would you have ever thought Musk was going to say, I'm going to get $45 million a month to a super PAC? All these business leaders flipping and saying, now I support him. Silicon Valley, he goes there, David Sachs leads an event with Schmuck and all the other guys, and they raised $13 million. Logan Paul going out there doing a podcast with him and then tweeting about it saying, this guy's a freaking badass. I don't know what Logan Paul said, and Logan Paul has that audience. I mean, Dana White has all the tough guys' audience. Whoever's an alpha watches the UFC. If you watch UFC and the head guy is for Trump, what are you going to do? So I just think everything is coming together, and the only thing you have to be careful with right now is the one thing. Why? When's the last time you heard a story? When's the last time you heard that the what do you call it? You heard the Daily Show, Morning Joe, okay? They canceled Morning Joe show after Trump assassination attempt. Both the Daily Show, Morning Joe canceled. Their Monday episodes after this promising to make those up in the coming weeks. The Daily Show originally set the date at Milwaukee's largest performing arts center during the Republican National Convention, sold out all 4 episodes. The Monday episode, usually hosted by Jon Stewart, was scrapped, with the show now planning to broadcast Tuesday to Thursday from New York. MSNBC's Morning Show was pulled in favor of ongoing breaking news coverage of the shooting, which left 1 man dead and 2 injured. Joe Scarborough and Mika agreed to the benching, with the network stating, given the gravity and complexity of the unfolding story, our channels have remained in rolling breaking news coverage since Saturday evening. Why would they bench Morning Show and Mika? Why would they do that?
They all pack. You know why? Because even the hack leftist propaganda MSDNC, is that what John Jr. called it? MSDNC. We're not stupid. It wasn't for this, oh, we're just doing it because, we just want to give late breaking news and we're going to have a steady stream. They put them on timeout because even MSDNC knows you can't. The guy was shot in the ear and almost murdered. You can't be on there because they know exactly what those 2 hacks are going to be saying. They're going to be saying, he's Hitler and his rhetoric and it's all his fault. And I sent Rob the clip, PBD. It's like 2 minutes and some seconds long. They're speaking with another host of MSNBC and they realized, they're like, hey, we found out that they weren't just doing one steady stream. They actually put other people on. And if it happens again, we're not going to be here anymore. So it's a timeout for even the heads at MSDNC knew. They were like, you know what? We can't, let's not put these 2 out there because God knows what they're going to say. God knows. I guarantee you it would have been one heartfelt moment of, you know what? Thank God this guy wasn't assassinated because the world would have been in turmoil. Not at all. So I'm happy that they did that.
Why do you think? Tom, why do you think?
I think it was a business decision, plain and simple. Pat and I have been through this, and a lot of people out there are business owners. Think of it this way. You have a very, very big meeting coming up with an important customer. And somebody says the 2 salesmen are going are Johnny and Sarah. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Do not send Johnny and Sarah into that room. I don't trust them in that room. We're going to send Javier and Consuela. They're going to go into that room. They're going to that meeting. This was a business decision. MSNBC could not trust Joe Scarborough with the heat of the moment, with the elevated tone that was coming out of everything. They could not trust Joe Scarborough to go into that meeting with the audience. And this higher up said, we can't do this. We can't do this. They're number 6. Remember, they're number 6. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, they're number 6. They have to protect what's left of that business. This was a business decision to give them a timeout, to not have them say anything weird. Let's go the other way and just play a simple little analysis. What if Morning Joe had gone on to Joe Scarborough? Well, we already know, so somebody took a shot at Hitler. All you need him to do is say something like that, because that's going to be a highlight video for all time from MSNBC. They can't trust Joe, and they can't trust the intensity of the guests they're going to have on. Somebody's going to say, well, yeah, Trump got shot, with some smirk or something, and it all goes sideways. It was a business decision. They couldn't risk it.
Rob, do you have the clip of what Joe said about this? If you have the clip, Rob, just post this, because you don't trust.
Briefly talk to our.
Oh yeah, this is.
Go ahead, Rob.
I wanted to briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day, and talk about what happened yesterday. We were told, in no uncertain terms, on Sunday evening that there was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels yesterday. The Today Show would be Lester Holt, other people that you worked with on Sunday, and that was going to be one news feed across all NBC News channels, that we were going to stay as a network in breaking news mode throughout all day yesterday. That did not happen. We don't know why that didn't happen, or team was not given a good answer as to why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen. We were also told it was going to happen throughout the day. And I guess after there was such a strong blowback about yesterday morning, I guess they changed their plans. And so those plans changed as well. So it didn't. You know, we've talked about it off the air. We'll talk about it on the air because we talk about everything on the air. We were very surprised. We were very disappointed. And if we had known that there wasn't going to be the one news feed from NBC News across all NBC News channels, really, we obviously would have been in yesterday morning.
Yeah, I was here up early on Sunday morning with NBC's coverage. Savannah and I led the coverage on Sunday in the meeting aftermath. Witnesses talked to officials about what happened.
So back. So he's mad because they were told, listen, we're just gonna have one feed. Nobody's gonna have their individual shows airing. But now PBD watched to the end. Now this is where she gets uncomfortable, and then Chad, when he says, like, we'll walk away, look at her face.
Obviously, screwed up and ready to go for yesterday morning on a big morning after something else was going to be broadcast. So we are here today, going through a lot, catching up a little bit, but we want to be here for our audience, and we know you trust us, and we have ultimate respect for you guys. So we're here today. I wish we'd been here yesterday.
Yeah, we all wish we would have been here yesterday. We still would like to figure out exactly why there wasn't that one.
Well, and I think the reason why is this show began and continues 17 years later on being the place for you to go to have the hard conversations in a civil way. And so it seemed like now more than ever is a time that we would like to be on, and I think our viewers agree with that. So we continue. We are 5 minutes past the top of the hour.
Yeah, here he goes.
Next time we're told there's going to be a news feed replacing us, we will be in our
We'll
show.
be sitting here.
Yeah, the news feed will be us, or they can get somebody
We'll still be
else
sitting here.
to host the show.
They can get someone, so he just put an ultimatum.
Well, let me tell you, this is a place where I actually support what MSN is doing. And let me explain to you why. If you go to Power versus Force, Rob, just pull up Power versus Force and go to one of the images. This is the part all of us have to work on. Everybody. That includes us, and that includes them. Because what the audience wants to see, Rob, if you can just go to Google, type in Power versus Force and pull up, there you go. Look at this here. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, Rob. Perfect. So look at all the way at the bottom, level of consciousness. All the way at the bottom, we have people that are always ashamed, right? Their emotion is humiliation. Then you have guilt. They're always blaming somebody. Very annoying to be around people that are always blaming somebody else for a mistake, right? Apathy, despair. They're hopeless. Grief, regret. They're always regretting a decision they made. So they're always in this tragic mode. Fear, anxiety, withdrawal. They're afraid to confront and have serious conversations. Desire, drug, alcohol, women, whatever it is, craving, enslavement. You're a slave to what you desire. Anger is where Morning Joe is at. Hate, aggression. Pride is where Morning Joe is really at. Scorn, inflation. Then you have courage, which is the next phase. And then courage to say you're wrong. Courage to say you messed up. It's not easy to be there. Then it's neutrality to hear both sides. You're willing and you're optimistic. You're hopeful. Then it's acceptance, forgiveness. Then it's reason, understanding. So, for example, when I'm thinking, why would Trump, conversation, why would Trump pick a J.D. Vance after he said stuff like that? Trump said, yeah, I guess he likes me now, doesn't he? Very simple. He forgave him. Hey, yeah, I guess he likes me now, doesn't he? Great. That's a reason, understanding. So if MSNBC doesn't believe, Robbie, you can take that down, and I'm always going to reference back to this book. If MSNBC doesn't trust Morning Joe to be there, why do you think it is? Actually, just looking at the chart, why do you think it is? I would say because they don't think Morning's Joe's anger and pride will allow him to communicate the events that took place in a reasonable way. And maybe, just maybe, before them going live, do you think there's a possibility, Tom, where the executive, whoever the top is, executive producer, the VP, called and said, hey, Joe, Mika, how do you feel about this? And they say what they say. And then he says, so what do you think about what happened? Well, this, Then he did this. It's his fault. Joe, you can't say, no, it's his fault. He started this. He deserves what he gets. So then the producer's like, you can't talk. No, the audience needs to know. That's the truth. No, that's your anger and your pride. Do you think a call like that happened where the decision was made? We're cutting the show. We're not doing it today. You need a day off. You think something like that happened, Tom?
100%. The head of news is responsible for that show. And we now know from everything that we can read about multiple things that the producer over somebody like Joe Scarborough does his best to control the talent, but cannot control the talent. The talent goes with it. We saw it with, we've seen it with Hannity. We've seen it, well, I'm saying we've seen it on every channel, regardless of where it was. We've seen it with Don Lemon, that the producer couldn't get Don Lemon to rationalize his position and to come clean. And so the head of the news division says, sorry, you're done. The producer's job is to produce the show and to do their best to kind of moderate the talent and to keep the show in its lane. The head of news is the one with these super, commentators now, these superstars, these media icons, and they are media icons. The head of news is the one that comes down to Joe and say, Joe, I've talked to your producer. We've given him the guardrails, but I got to ask you personally. That's how the conversations happen. We've seen this reported in Wall Street Post that does a good job covering media. That they, head of news is responsible to call there and take the temperature and then make the call.
Yeah, I think a call like that happened. I think a conversation like that happened. And I think they made the decision. And I think these guys are upset. And by the way, I'm not going to lie to you. I think for the left, I think Joe is good for the left. I think they're actually good for the left. I just think his rage, his anger, and his pride is getting in the way. And, a lot of times, nobody makes it to that level without thinking highly of yourself, okay? You think highly of yourself. Do you know who I am? I'm Joe Scarborough. Do you understand who I am? I'm Mika. Do you understand who I am? And look, everybody kind of goes through this. Whether you're a manager at a McDonald's, that's the #1 McDonald's in your region, or you're a manager of a AMC theater, or you're a morning Joe host, you think very highly of yourself. And then sometimes that can cover up your flaws, your blind spots. Everybody is capable of falling for this trap. And then you get caught. And then people realize you're not reasonable anymore. And then people realize you're not capable of having a conversation and seeing the fact that maybe your side was wrong. And that's not an easy thing to do for men and women who are performers, who have a high level of pride in what they've done. It's just not an easy thing to do. Vinny, any thoughts on this before we go to the next story?
No, if they wanted to quit, I just wish that'd be a golden moment if they were just like, hey, you know what? Because of these actions, we have to walk away. That would have been a celebration and a win for us. And then I hope like a show like The View will follow suit, but I can't be that lucky, so.
Well, listen, you can pray about it.
I am after.
But that's a different story.
I think the world would be a better place.
I think what I pray about is for you to be on The View. That's what I pray.
I will. And PBD, I don't know if Zila, I just said this in the chat, and I apologize because, guys, I was on my phone. But apparently, RFK Jr.'s son posted a video, and it's since been deleted, of a call between RFK Jr. and Trump after the shooting. And in the video, Trump repeats his claims about the vaccines and stuff. Like, it's a weird call, and it was posted and then deleted. And I posted in the chat. I don't know if this is something that you'd want to put. That's why I apologize. I was on my phone.
What do you mean? It was just. Is there a clip?
There's a clip. There's a clip. I just sent it to Rob Pat. He goes, he does not know he's being recorded, but Trump is being, a gentleman. He's being cool and he's being collective. But I don't even think RFK knew that his son was recording him. So
I can understand why he thought it was a good idea for him to show that Trump is roughly on the same page as RFK when it comes down to the issue of vaccines. But it's a gross lapse of judgment. That said, and what I can get over is assuming Trump was not on the same decision, which I'm not. I'm sure he was. Is what an absolute gentleman Trump is, even when he thinks he is not being recorded. The man was just shot a millimeter from brutal and gruesome death. And even when describing the incident, he is kind and generous to Joe Biden, who I believe had a hand in it. He has a sense of humor. This is this gentleman saying, so if he can go up
Yeah, there's a video PBD, I think, at the top, Rob.
All the way up. So this is from who? No, I want to show who it's from, Rob.
Oh.
This is from Viva. Okay,
Viva.
Got it. Viva Frag. So keep going lower. So I can read the whole thing. Then he's got some millionaire minutes. He has a sense of humor about the entire experience. He doesn't scream, swear, blame anybody, though he should. A true and total gentleman. I can see why the left hates him so much. Go ahead and play the clip, Rob.
Pat, yeah, Pat. I don't know how old the son is, but I mean, wow, you can't even trust. Like, this is the second time Trump, like, even at the golf course, Trump is speaking off the cuff, doesn't know he's being recorded, and look what he just said. He goes, "Yeah, Joe Biden, nice guy, called me and was asking questions and showing his humility." I don't really know how much about the vaccine because, you know, the kid started recording a little bit later, but, you know, that's besides the point. The fact that he's even saying that Joe Biden was cool, had a conversation, asked him why he turned, that just shows you who he is. That shows his character. I can't hear Pat.
I was saying, Tom, we can't hear you. What I was saying is, what do you think about him speaking and having it on recording while his son is recording him?
If RFK knew someone was recording that, he should have said something to Trump. Hey, I'm sitting here with my son and family. They're listening to this. I hope that's okay. I'm really glad that you're all right, and I, love to hear what's on your mind. You got to tell somebody at this level, Trump, and later I see that, and I see RFK face to face. I'd say, Bobby, what were you doing allowing your kid to record that and do that? I was calling you genuinely. I'm calling you genuinely. Your family has faced the tragedy I almost faced. I'm calling you very, very genuinely to talk about things, and having your kid record it and put it out, Bobby, come on. That would turn my trust down a little bit. I wouldn't like that at all. I'm a little concerned about that. Now, on the other hand, does Bobby know the kid is recording, or is the kid sitting there with the phone from across the room? Because you notice it doesn't move around. Bobby's on the phone like this, and the image, the video doesn't move around. So was his kid just kind of recording it from across the room? In which case, I think Bobby's got a problem with Bobby Jr. And Bobby Jr., Bobby the third, Robert the third, man, he came out against the Secret Service, and so he's been very revved up through this whole situation. You saw his quote on social media.
Tom, just two questions. How old is his son? Number one, and number two, they said it was since deleted. So how did it make it out into the public?
Which son was the tweet, Vinny? Can you see it?
Binat?
Which son was the tweet? If you tell me the name of the son, he's got a 39-year-old son. He's got a 29-year-old son. He's got a 26-year-old son and a 22-year-old son.
So yeah, CPB, it doesn't say who it just said his son. But then here's the thing: he published it and then deleted it. Why would you do that?
Probably because somebody in the family in the camp saw it and said, "Look, what are you doing? Take it down. It's distasteful." But no, I mean, look, there's a part of it where it's kind of like, I can't believe, you see how even Trump agrees with me, because on one end, when you're RFK and you fought this fight, and you are right, and Trump is agreeing with you, you want the world to see that. You want the world to be like, dude, I'm telling you guys, I'm right. His whole job as a lawyer to make an argument, and you want the argument to be right. So I understand why, what he's doing and the motivation of what he's doing. And I think, what I learned a long time ago, at 25 years old when I was an insurance agent, I saw one of the guys that was making a lot of money. He lost all his licenses. And one of the compliance officers came in and said the best thing to us. Says, anytime you're speaking from stage, assume you're being recorded. Anytime you're speaking from stage, assume you're being recorded. Trump's a professional. Trump knows anytime he's on a phone call with somebody, he has to assume he's being recorded. It doesn't matter who it is, minus a handful of people in his life. Everybody is going to want to find a way to brag to their grandkids. Look who called me. Honey, look who's calling. Oh my God, he called you? Yes, my dad got a phone call from, there's a little bit of that, but I hope this doesn't change Trump's mind of bringing RFK to investigate the entire COVID, Fauci, all those guys. I'd love to see Rand Paul and RFK team up, go up after CDC, NIH, World Health Organization. I would love if President Trump, and the one thing about President Trump right now, at this phase of his life, you go through paranoia, and then you eventually get to a point where you reach a level of, man, God has forgiven me for so many sins I've committed. Guess what, man? I got to be more forgiven. Because look what God's done with Trump. He processes that by himself, and he's going to sit there and be like, look, if I've been forgiven for some of the stuff that I've done, and God's forgiven me, and others have forgiven me, and some of them, now many haven't, maybe I got to start forgiving some of the stuff as well. I think he's going through that phase right now, because 78, 79, you saw the look on his face. It was a different look on his face. The look on his face wasn't because you'd be in jail. The look on his face wasn't, all this other stuff. The look on his face was, hey man, enjoy the ride, protect the country, be grateful, God's on your side, you got lucky and you were protected, whether it's you turning like this pure luck, or it was, God, where the other guy didn't know what he was doing fully to be able to hit you. He has to come from a place. A book was written many years ago by, what's this guy's name? It's called David and Goliath. Not David versus Goliath. It was David and Goliath. Who wrote it? He always writes good books. Underdogs, Misfits, and the Art of Battling Giants. It was written by Malcolm Gladwell. Phenomenal book, David and Goliath. In this book, one of the things, that's the one right there. In this book, one of the things he talks about is, I think it's this book. He talks about what happens when people get a close call with death and how they react to it. When you get a close call with death, you lead from a standpoint of, I'm supposed to be here for a bigger cause. I don't know what it is, but I'm here for a bigger cause. And you tend to take that responsibility, not with arrogance, but a certain level of humility, because you almost lost everything. So you got so close to it where you're like, I almost died. Then what? Who cares about network? Who cares about Twitter following? Who cares about valuation? And then you come here and you're like, maybe you're trying to say something to me and you give me a second chance in life. You want to give me a second chance of life? I would have never seen my grandkids anymore, or my kids, or had a good meal. I'm yours. What do you want me to do? The level of fear for a creator goes up, but the level of loyalty for a creator goes up, that you were protected by someone, by a spirit. and they tend to come from a different place on the way they lead, on the way they manage stuff with their own families, and the way they do business. This is no longer the same Trump. People have to realize this is not the same Trump. It's not the same Trump. It's a very different Trump when something like this happens to you in your life. And that's the part where one of the things I'd love to see happen, I would love to see him choose RFK to lead the COVID investigation. I think if an announcement think about it in September or October, okay? I don't know if RFK is speaking here or not, but think about if an announcement is made, RFK drops out, he gets behind Trump, they do an event, and RFK's out there and Trump says, this is a very good man. I understand what he went through and what they tried to, and what they did to his father and what they did to his uncle. They tried to do to me as well. And I went through it, and I'm grateful I'm here now. And I'm, witnessing what's going on, and we both love America. We may have differences, but if there's one thing I know, he fully believes in what happened with the vaccine and we're on the same page. I'm gonna commission him to go and investigate XYZ, and Rand Paul comes in with that. I think that's 45 out of 50 states. I think that's like Jimmy Carter, Reagan, landslide type of a victory where a lot of people are going to be sitting there saying, I resign, I resign, I resign, I resign, I retire, I resign, I resign, I resign. Because they don't want to go through it. They're like, I'm out of here. And they move to Singapore, or they move to Belize, or they move to a small little city outside of Palmdale called Neenak, where donkeys live in and zebras that no one's ever heard of before. They do weird things like that, Vinny. But
Or they go to Wuhan, Pat. I mean, I would go back to the origins. If I was Fauci, I'd be like, listen, China, I'm coming home. Come take care of me. I'll work at the lab. I don't know if it's still open or not, but I'll come back to Wuhan. Just please take care of me because I did all your dirty work. That's what I would do.
Maybe they go to Wuhan, who knows? And that's the angle they take with that. Anyways, Rob, let's go to the next story. Rob, CNN, what's the story with CNN? There's a story that came about with CNN's numbers, which everybody is like, what are you talking about with some of these numbers here? Let me read this to you. So CNN primetime ratings catered 92% the day after presidential debate, Nielsen says. CNN primetime rating drops 92% the day after the June 27 presidential debate between Trump and Biden. According to Nielsen data, in the key 25 to 54 demographic, the rating fell 96%. Moderated by Dana Bash and Tapper, the debate drew nearly 50 million viewers, with CNN generating 8.7 million. However, viewers quickly turned out the following day, leaving CNN behind Fox News and MSNBC for the week of June 28th to July 7th. CNN's primetime ratings fell 93% to 500,000 total viewers, with a 97% drop in key demos. CEO Mark Thompson announced they plan to cut 100 jobs as part of a turnaround strategy. You're letting go of people at the peak season with Trump and elections? What are you gonna do after this thing's over, where nobody tunes into political news? Tom, what are your thoughts on this data here?
Very interesting data. I dove into it, and I have two quick case studies that go behind it, which are kind of interesting from history. The first thing that happened was CNN basically got those monster ratings because they paid for them. They were the ones that got the debate. They did it exclusive. They brought their feed, had to be everywhere. It had to say CNN in the corner of all the video feeds that were carried on all the other networks. So they had a shortage. They were the only one. It's like when DirecTV had the NFL Sunday Ticket. That was the only place to get all the NFL games. So naturally, subscribers went to DirecTV for NFL. Well, what happened was afterwards, there was no connection and hold of the audience. Let me describe that. Two case studies through history. You go back. Wolf Blitzer was relatively unknown to the American audience until the Gulf War. After the Gulf War, the Wolf Blitzer report carried audience. They got to know him. They kind of liked him. And he carried audience after the big pop. Then Greta Van Susteren, she was a legal analyst, and during the OJ trial, she became well known, not really known before that. After that, she carried a ton of audience. CNN had a shortage, and they had the best thing. They were the only one with oxygen when everybody wanted to breathe on that debate, and guess what happened? Afterwards, there was no hold by CNN, which says they had that nobody wanted to hear from the talent, Nobody wanted to hear from the network. And guess what? As soon as they didn't have the debate and it's over, boom, the audience craters, which follows in line already what was happening to their audience before. Dana Bash does not get high Q rating among audience, and she's not known really for anything except kind of being Dana Bash. She's not an expert on this or that. So when you dive into this, there was nothing to hold the audience. So 96% of them went back to what they were doing before because there wasn't this artificial shortage that CNN created by writing a giant check to get the debate.
Yeah, PPD, who's there? Like, if you guys think about it, Cuomo, gone. Lemon, gone. Stelter, gone. I mean, who, if you think CNN, who?
Briefly talk to our friends and viewers that watch us every day.
No, that's not it. But anyway, but what like PPD, if you think about it, they got rid of,
almost gone.
They got rid of all their big dogs. Who do they have right now? Look at a bunch of nobodies. These are actual, I don't know any, there's no star that they have. And Pat, let me ask you a question though. You think Donald Trump wins, God willing, what happens with CNN's numbers? I mean, because, you know, Russia collusion, impeachments, you know, storming, all that stuff brings them ratings. Do you think that's going to save them or they're doomed?
Well, let me show you this, which is kind of weird. We're a small little podcast. You know, we're not a network. We're not anything like that. Rob shows me this number.
We're a startup.
I don't know if you guys can see this or not. This is the last 2 months of viewership on YouTube. Okay, May and June, YouTube combined. CNBC at the bottom, 36 million. Then it's Bloomberg, Sky News, NBC, BBC, CBS, Al Jazeera, ABC News. CNN had 257.6 million views. Value came in and Beauty Podcast at 250 million. Then it's Fox News and MSNBC. The reason why this is important is because not a lot of people watch TV. They get their news on YouTube. Or they go and watch a video or podcast on YouTube or Spotify or whatever's out there. CNN is not getting as many views as just Value Came in and Beauty Podcast combined. Really? CNN community as big as it is with it. How many subscribers does CNN have on YouTube, Rob? Can you pull up and see how many subscribers? Holy shit! Where are they at? I gotta lay off the drugs, if you look at CNN's 16.6 million. 16.6 million subs. This is CNN. That's getting numbers like that. There's a famous quote that says, experts build the Titanic, amateurs build the Ark. It looks like experts in the world is saying, yeah, we just want to kind of hear what regular day-to-day people want to say. And Rob, I want to go to this next story with CNN, which is they're starting to realize stuff doesn't work. They quietly, this is a New York Post story, CNN quietly disbands race and equality team as part of layoffs. Why would CNN do that, right? CNN disbanded its race and equality team, which was formed in response to George Floyd's death in 2020, as part of a major restructuring that included firing 100 staffers. One journalist was fired, 2 were reassigned. A CNN spokesperson admitted, for all intent and purposes, the team is not a team anymore. CNN's chairman, Mark Thompson, announced the layoffs impacting around 3% of the workforce. High-profile journalists like media critic Brian Lowry, senior tech writer Samantha Murphy were amongst those. Thompson also revealed plan for CNN's first subscription product on CNN.com. The disbanding of race and equality team reflects CNN's strategy to integrate their perspectives across different programming areas. So yeah, Vinny, you're asking a good question on what's going to happen afterwards. No one knows what's going to happen afterwards. The guy that bought it is a decent guy who knows what he's doing. He's not a lightweight, he's a heavyweight. But for them to kind of try to bring this thing back up, you have to shift away from the philosophy that you've had this entire time, which is not a philosophy that's got a lot of people to trust them and believe in them. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen there with these guys and what position they take. Let me tell you what interesting story I see here that I think it's worth talking about. Rob, do you know where that story is with the ammunition thing? There it is. Check this out. Ammunition vending machines, folks. Ammunition vending machines. Rob, if you have that, pull this up so the audience can see it. Ammunition vending machines pop up in 3 states, may expand to others in the future, okay? American Rounds has installed ammunition vending machines in grocery stores across Oklahoma, Texas, and Alabama, with plans to expand to more states. CEO Grant Magers stated, "We're the safest, most secure method of ammunition sales on the market currently," and mentioned that over 200 stores in 9 states have requested these machines. The vending machines require customers to insert their ID and undergo facial recognition to verify their identity. I
like that a lot.
The process, he thinks, is more secure than traditional stores and online sales. He highlighted that traditional methods allow minors to easily bypass age verification, stating any minor can go to a website and click, "Hey, I'm 21," and they've got their parents' credit card and they just order 1,000 rounds to their house. However, Tuscaloosa City official Kip Tyner expressed concerns about the potential for bullets to end up in the hands of people who are not that responsible. Tom, Vinny, thoughts on this idea with vending machines?
So the vending machine is actually more secure and more confirmation than just a web address. A web address, you know, I could knock you on the head, take your driver's license and your credit card, and until somebody calls it in, I could use that and I could buy ammunition and I could get it shipped. Right? However, I go up to a vending machine, I'm using a credit card, they're going to take a picture of whoever is there taking the ammunition out. There's going to be controls. There's going to be things there. You have to take out your driver's license, and then it'll probably cross-check. Are you on a list where you're ineligible to own a weapon right now? This isn't just going to be walking up to buy a Coke. This is going to be some things that are involved with it. So you know, when you hear the word vending machine, let's wait and see what the actual device looks like. And I bet you're going to have a lot of people out there nervous about privacy, because there's got to be checks and balances. Nobody operate. I'm not going to run a business that operates a vending machine that you can pull out, you know, ammunition and go commit a mass shooting, and then people say, "Oh, well, where did he get the ammunition? You didn't check. You let it happen." I'm out of business. Trial lawyers, you know, injury lawyers, 10 minutes, I'm out of business. So I want to see the vending machine. Don't think of this as a Coke machine. There's going to be controls in there.
Like, honestly, when you first started saying it and I heard vending, like Tom was pointing out, automatically I'm like, you know, my comedy brain's going, okay, Coca-Cola, 5.56, blah, blah, blah. But then the thing that triggered me, no pun intended, is when you said ID and facial recognition, okay? What a brilliant idea to identify who the person is. It's almost as if that thing that you said on a live podcast with Dennis and Chris Cuomo. Why don't we do that same thing for voting? Why don't we do the same thing? Put your ID, show your face, good for you. I saw some video feed, I don't know where it was, on X, where illegals are going to get driver's licenses, and they're giving them registrations to vote. Like, you can register to vote there, and they were catching these illegals registering to vote. So like, I think it's a great idea, especially like nowadays with ammunition. Right now, I guarantee you, Rob could, I'll check right now, ammunition sales are probably going up, especially after the assassination / coup, however you want to call it, attempt on Donald Trump. So yeah, I think it's good business, especially with facial recognition and ID.
You guys said
My
everything.
My greater concern is security for the vending machine itself. We've seen guys with big pickup trucks and giant chains yank little ATMs right out of a 7-Eleven. So kind of interesting.
Were you speaking or?
No, it was Tom.
Oh, okay. It's a little auto issue. But okay, so let's go to this next one.
I heard truck.
Your hopefully your audio will work here. And maybe we can finish off with this. I think this is important because this next election cycle, Trump's going to go after China. They're going to have to figure this thing out. China's economic growth slows in second quarter. It slowed down to 4.7% in Q2, missing expected 5.1, and marking a decline from 5.3 in Q1. The slowdown is attributed to weak consumer demand and a prolonged property slump, despite efforts from policymakers to bolster confidence. Softening domestic demand conditions have more than offset the boost from export recovery, said economists from North Asia. Junyu Tam, industrial production exceeded expectations, growing 5.3% in June, while retail sales grew only 2%, significantly below expectation. Fixed asset investments rose 3.9% in the first half of 2024. Consumer prices increased by 0.2%. Weak demand. New home prices fell by 4.5%, the steepest decline in 9 years. In response to the economic data, several banks revised their full-year growth forecast for China. Goldman Sachs reduced its estimate from 5% to 4.9%, JP Morgan from 5.2 to 4.7%, and Oxford Economics lowered its target to 4.8%. Tom, thoughts on China?
China's domestic economy is slowing down, and all economies have cycles, and right now China's domestic economy is in the middle of a slowdown cycle. What's going to slow down their export economy is the election of Donald Trump, because he's going to put more manufacturing jobs and more jobs back in the United States. The same thing he did when he first came into office last time. Remember, he went straight to Ohio, straight to Indiana, convinced companies to put jobs back in the United States. Those things, a slowing in China is a theme that's going to be continued for a couple of years. Now, people say, well, why does that matter for China, for me? Well, one of the ways it can matter for Americans is that energy prices are going to come down, because China's demand for energy during a slowdown is going to drop, meaning more oil and things are on the market to be bought by other people. We're going to go like hell here in the United States and be the world energy power we should be, and prices are going to come down, which will be great news for Americans in terms of plastics, gasoline, air travel, and heating oil. Those are the big things that hit the American pocketbook. So this is all connected in this global economy, and China is having a cycle coming down, and they're going to get additional pressure after the election of Donald Trump and the economic policies of the United States.
Tom, did you see the $10 trillion in China
I mean, they hid facts about how much national debt they really had. Oh, what a surprise! And now they got to figure out how to broker it and how to pay interest on it, just like any other country, such as the United States or Latin. That's an additional pressure that's going to be on them, because it's not a one-way street anymore, where they were actually buying our T-bills and buying our debt. They're not number one. Japan is number one buying our debt. So there's a lot of things happening in China. Here it is. This is exactly true. The Chinese economy is about to have some major correction points that are going to be in it, and it's not going to be just an open valve for trade with the USA. We're going to bring jobs back to the United States, and it's going to pinch their economy even more. And now we're seeing, you know, what was the iceberg? More of the iceberg is under the water than above the water. Guess what's been below the water? Lies about the Chinese economic truth. What a surprise. They won't let their currency actually float with other international currencies. No surprise that they're hiding the fact that they also have a big debt problem. Well, welcome to reality.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hiding things, Tom, I don't know if you remember this, but there was this thing that happened 2019, 2020. It was called COVID. The last time a president was holding China accountable, making them pay their fair share, doing everything with trade. Randomly on election year, this random virus came out of a lab that we own and shut down the world. And, you know, Biden's in with China. So is Gavin Newsom. He treats Xi Jinping like he's a god when he comes to San Francisco. I'm just concerned that if Trump comes back in, we have to be wary about this China, who also has been buying land all over the United States, right next to our military installations. They're buying up all this land. And, behind shows that China does this attack that cripples the world. I want to put it past these people.
They're not going away. And China's got a lot of leverage to pull and a lot of things to do. They're not going away. But to have them having an economic cycle when we get an election and new economic policy only helps us. But the long game is what they play, and they're not going away.
Yeah, and by the way, here's RFK responding to the video that was leaked, and he apologized. When President Trump called me, I was taping with an in-house videographer. I should have ordered a videographer to stop recording immediately. I'm mortified that that was posted. I apologize to the president. Okay. So there you have it. By the way, it's everywhere now on Twitter, retweeted by everyone. It's done. It's going to get a few 100 million views of what happens there. If it's intentional or not Dennis Quaid starring in this Ronald Reagan movie. Rob, if you have it, what we're doing is we are doing a premiere at our studio, at our comedy club in Valuetainment at $59.90 live. The VIP tickets sold out, as they always do, in no time. The mid-level ticket tiers are available to pick up, and some generals are left. If you're somebody that's a big Reagan person and he wants to see, we're going to watch the movie. Rob, if you want to show the flyer to the website, you can go to $59.90 live. If you're somebody that's a Reagan fan and you want to watch the movie with us, we'll be the first to watch the movie. Then there will be a 30-minute break. Then we'll do a live podcast together with Dennis Quaid. And obviously, we're going to talk to him a lot about Hollywood, different things, as well as his thoughts on Trump politics. There's so many different things that's going on. So we're excited about that, but there's still a few tickets left on the general side. You can go to that QR code, get the ticket, you, your spouse, your friends. My son's going to be there to watch the movie with me.